Today I'm going to talk to you about asexuality, and I don't mean the way that fungi and bacteria reproduce. I'm asexual. No, really, it's a real thing. Asexuality is a sexual orientation, in the same way that heterosexuality, bisexuality, and homosexuality, among others, are sexual orientations. Now you'd think that by looking at that list, all the bases are covered. Females, males, everyone in between and outside of those categories. But you'd be wrong, because asexuality is not experiencing sexual attraction to anyone, regardless of gender. So now you're thinking, well, isn't that just celibacy? Well, no, not at all, actually. While celibacy is something that people can choose to practice, asexuality is an intrinsic part of who we are, and not something we can choose. Alright, let me help you visualize this. Imagine there was a table of sexual orientations, where along the top you had attracted to females, and just to the right of it, not attracted to females. And then you had the same for males along the side. When placing yourself on the table, you can see that in the top left, you would be bisexual, as you're in the same column as attracted to females, and the same row as attracted to males. In the top right, you can be one of two things, either a heterosexual female, or a homosexual male. As you can see, this pattern continues in the bottom left. But what about that last spot there? Clearly, the sexual orientation table would not be complete without the last section filled out, and that is where asexuality comes into play. Like most things related to sexuality, asexuality is a spectrum. This means that there are also people who still experience sexual attraction, although infrequently enough that they still identify with the asexual community. This is known as graysexual. And there are others who only experience sexual attraction to those whom they have formed a close emotional bond with. This is known as demisexual. So with this new knowledge, you can see that the previous table should look a little more like this. Now these tables are still incomplete, as gender, intensity of attraction, and several other factors weren't fully taken into account. But for simplicity's sake, we'll leave it at this for today. Believe it or not, there is actually a lot of diversity within the asexual community, and while some asexuals do not want to partake in any sort of romantic relationship, there are definitely those who do. So what do I mean by this exactly? Well, along with having a sexual orientation, all people, not just asexuals, also have what is called a romantic orientation. For every sexual orientation that exists, a romantic orientation also exists. So, while a heterosexual person may desire to form a sexual relationship with someone of the opposite sex or gender, a heteroromantic person may desire to form a romantic relationship with someone of the opposite sex or gender. Of course, this applies to all people, regardless of sexuality. You can have a combination of orientations, such as a heteroromantic asexual, someone who isn't attracted to anyone sexually, but is romantically attracted to, or wants to form a romantic relationship with, someone of the opposite sex or gender. As I already stated, any combination can and does exist, so within and outside of the asexual community, there are people who are romantically attracted to females, males, anyone in between and outside of those categories, as well as people who aren't attracted to anyone at all. Finally, just because somebody isn't sexually attracted to anyone, it doesn't mean that they can't experience sexual arousal. Many do experience this sexual arousal, or sex drive, which is also known as libido. And even if an asexual does experience sexual arousal, it doesn't mean that they aren't asexual, as they aren't being sexually aroused by someone. Some asexuals do masturbate, though feel little to no desire for partnered sexuality. Some asexuals do desire partnered sexuality, and some asexuals experience no sexual arousal whatsoever. Now that we've got a pretty good idea of what asexuality is, let's take a look at what asexuality isn't. Asexuality is not a mental disorder, a hormonal imbalance, something to be fixed, a fear of sex, a repulsion to sex, although you can still be asexual and sex repulsed, a sudden lack of interest or ability in sex, and finally, it is not necessarily the result of some past trauma. We, nor anyone else for that matter, will appreciate you declaring abuse on someone just because you believe they were abused. Alright, so what's the big deal? Why do we need to promote asexual awareness so much? Well, current estimates put asexual prevalence in adults at about 1% of the global population, and while this may seem insignificant, keep in mind that there are well over 7 billion people on the planet. The amount of asexuals living here on Earth likely ranges well into the millions, but the majority of these people don't have a way to describe what they're feeling, or fear being shunned by a society that so greatly values sex, should they come forth about their lack of sexual attraction. A significant amount of people, including medical professionals and therapists, impose that an asexual's lack of sexual attraction or desire is due to a mental illness, a hormonal imbalance, physical unattractiveness, or past abuse, along with many other derogatory reasons. Because of this, many asexuals face isolation, opposition, erasure, and threats of corrective rape, while persistently being pressured into acting sexually and entering into sexual scenarios that they don't feel comfortable with, in order to be seen as normal and healthy human beings. Therefore, asexual awareness is absolutely vital, not only to let asexuals know that there's nothing wrong with them, but also to let anyone who is in any type of relationship with an asexual know that they are doing nothing wrong either. The non-asexual person didn't fail as a friend, parent, sibling, or romantic partner, and didn't cause the asexual to be broken or oppressed, simply because that person does not experience sexual attraction. The asexual always was, is, and forever will be, perfectly a-okay just the way they are. Today we learned about asexuality, and how asexuals experience no sexual attraction to anyone. We now know that it's different from celibacy, which is a choice, and we took a look at a couple of tables which display different degrees and types of sexual attraction, including the gray area. We learned that romantic orientations exist separately from sexual orientations, allowing for romantic asexuals, and that asexuals can experience sexual arousal. Finally, we took a look at what asexuality isn't, and why asexual awareness is so important. Our goal with Everything's A-OK is to spread visibility and education, and to provide support to those who would have difficulty finding it elsewhere. We plan to continue posting new videos on asexuality every Friday, so come check back here often, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified of new postings. Feel free to leave any questions you have about asexuality in the comments below, and our team will do our best to make sure to answer each question, or provide materials where you can find those answers yourself if we are unsure. You can contact us at support@a-ok.org, or visit our website at a-ok.org, or the main asexuality website, asexuality.org, for more information on asexuality. Thanks for watching, and remember, everything's a-okay.